G'day, guys. Welcome back to the Life Outside podcast. My name is Cam Bostock, and before we get into today's episode, I just want to thank you for being here. Thanks for listening to the show. Really appreciate all the support, all the love, all the kind words in the comments and in the DMs. If you are enjoying the podcast, make sure to follow wherever you're listening and leave us a 5-star rating. Really helps out the show, and just super excited to reach more and more people in 2026. In this week's episode of the Life Outside podcast, I chat with Jorden Tually. Jorden has spent the last 12 years traveling full-time, visiting 98 different countries and experiencing more than most do in a lifetime. He's amassed almost 7 million followers while sharing his adventures with the goal of inspiring more people to leave home and experience new cultures, new challenges, and new perspectives. Jorden shares some pretty wild travel stories, as well as some of his journey in social media, faith, and finding love. We hope you enjoy. Jorden, welcome to the Life Outside podcast, mate.
Thank you, my friend. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you on, man. I've been following you and your journey for a very long time, actually. Back in
Really?
the OG TikTok days, in fact, if you go to my TikTok and you see that you scroll down to my following list, you're the first on there, and it's all chronological. So you are, yeah, you are literally one of my inspirations to
That's
get onto TikTok
incredible.
initially, because that's sort of where I started off in my content creation journey. When the TikTok craze was happening, I jumped on and just started doing stuff outside, and some reason people started watching. And I know you've sort of had that similar sort of trajectory over the last half decade. Well, even further back, a full decade ago.
Yeah,
So it's
that's
awesome
crazy.
to chat, dude, and to meet you.
I know, that's cool. I love that. It comes full circle. That is so awesome, yeah. The glory days of TikTok. Take me back.
Yeah. Do you feel like the TikTok train's kind of run its course, or is it still popping?
It's just nothing's ever as exciting as when it's new and fresh. So now it's just one of the things you use. But
Yeah.
back when I got on it in 2019, it was just like, this is sick because no one was really using it in the travel space. And it was just so fun. It was really fun. Now I'm
Yeah.
sure it's still fun for those people that are on it. And there is still obviously community involved. But yeah, I don't know. The first time you experience something is always like more memorable in that sense.
Totally. Yeah, I feel that. I had a lot of fun on TikTok in the start, especially when everything was just getting pushed out and everyone was jumping on it. It was a wild time. Over the years, I found like Instagram is the platform that I enjoy the most, though, as far as just like building a community and relationships with people, and actually making friends through the platform, that kind of stuff. And so
Hmm.
I tend to spend a lot, lot more time on Instagram these days compared to
Yes.
TikTok, at least from like a posting and like community engagement perspective.
No, that's true. I mean, that's the funny thing is like I have 3.6 million followers on TikTok, 2.6 million on YouTube, and then just under 500,000 on Instagram, and that's the one that I still consider as the most valuable. So it's
Mm,
super weird because it's like if you look from a just a follower count or even a views, if you look like the views I'm doing on the other platforms are equal or way more than Instagram, but for some reason, Instagram just seems more stable, more connected, and yeah, it seems like the place where most people still interact. So
yeah, I think that's the key, is the engagement and the interaction on Instagram versus TikTok, which is it's almost just like a scroll fest, and like the DMs aren't super prevalent and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
exactly. No, exactly. Yeah, if someone comments on something on TikTok, I'm like, oh yeah. But if someone comments something on Instagram, I'm like, oh, these are like friends in a sense.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you've been creating content for a very long time. You've been full time traveling for what, a decade?
Full time travel, 2026 will be my 12th year. So 11 years of
12th
full
year.
time, heading into 12. And then, yeah, social media, maybe around 10. Yeah, like a decade coming up.
Insane. When you first set
I
off
know.
that first year of travel, was this the plan, or was it just like, I'm gonna go send it
No,
and see what
not at
happens?
all. Not at all. I saved up like 10,000 Aussie bucks after university, like through university. I just did random odd jobs to get money. And then I was like, well, I got to have a gap year because I was 21 with a graphic design degree. And I always wanted to be a graphic designer. So I had full discernment of my life path. Like, when people don't really know what they want to do, I was like, nah, I love graphic design and I want to do that. And then I was like, but I'm so young, I'm 21. I need to like obviously do a gap year. So I did a gap year,
Gap
realized
decade.
travel. Yeah, exactly. The gap year turned to a gap decade. I realized travel is just more fun than graphic design. And I was like, hey, this is so good. I want to keep doing this. And then I just had to find a way. I was like, after that first like
Mm.
6 months of travel, I was just like, this is what I love. So yeah.
What hooked you? Like, obviously, it's experiencing new places and things that you don't experience back home, and there's so many positives. But travel can be exhausting and tiresome, and you miss home and stuff like that. What hooked you to the point of doing it literally full time for 12 years?
Well, initially it was just the world seemed so big and everything was challenging me. So I think I was really hooked by the fact that wow, I remember getting on that first flight by myself, being like, I'm not going to see anyone for like 6 to 8 months until I come back to Australia. That was a challenge because I've never really left home, and I didn't know how I was going to figure it out. And then financially, I didn't have that much money, so I was like, okay, I got to figure out this budget. Like every little aspect of that first year or two was a big challenge, and I think I loved the feeling of overcoming that constantly. You know, I look back, even just a week. You go I flew. The first flight I ever took was to Hawaii. 1 week after that, I went to Vancouver. So when I was in Vancouver, I reflected back on that 1 week in Hawaii, and it was the first week I've ever solo traveled. And I just remember being like, I had all these fears, and then I did all these things, and it was only 1 week of my life, which would have just been sitting at home or doing a normal sort of daily life in Australia. And I went, whoa, I've done more stuff in a week than I have in like years and years and years back at home. And all those fears and doubts, although they were still there and they were always prevalent when it came to the next location, but I started to look back and being like, oh, I did it and it all worked out, it all worked out, it all worked out. So I guess I just got hooked on that at the start. But yeah, that was probably the initial thing that got me into it. And then just meeting people. I just love people. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I do a lot of long distance hiking, and for me, that is the number one thing that keeps bringing me back. Is that it is so challenging, and it forces you to just like find new versions of yourself and
Mm,
overcome things that you didn't think you could before. And a lot of people, I think, are missing that don't leave their city. That I have really good mates. I have family members that just haven't even
mm.
left Perth, in this little corner of Australia, and you're missing out on culture and people and experience, but you're missing out on challenge. And I think that is so powerful for growth in all aspects of life, and you can carry it with you into all other aspects as well. And that's interesting that was a sort of drawing in factor for you, because I think a lot of people just think like, if it's hard, like I'm not going to want to go back and do it. But actually, once you get off over the other side of the difficulty of the obstacle, whatever it is, and you realize, oh
Yeah.
crap, I can do that. It bloody feels good, and you want to do it more. It's like it's actually addicting.
Yeah, exactly. So the first 3 years, 4 years of just new places, it was really about that. And then what's funny is that that becomes comfortable. And,
Mm.
traveling became the norm and it's became the only thing I knew. So I went from being it became really, it was scary at first, and now it became the only thing I know how to do. And then I find myself traveling just out of like a lethargic sort of, oh yeah, it's just what I do now, so I have to keep going. And I would go through phases like that. Obviously, there would still be other things that would challenge me and keep me engaged. And I probably owe a lot of that to social media and growing that sort of side of the business, because when traveling became sort of easier, less challenging, less hurdles in the way because I just know what I'm doing in most countries in the world.
Yeah.
I think the business of it, the social media, the creating videos and engaging in that way, that was the challenge, and then that was what probably kept me going for another 5 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because you do something enough and it becomes normal, like you said, and becomes easy. And a lot of people that are listening to this who are through hikers can relate to that. You start on a 3 day hike in your home country or home city, and then that was really scary, but you did it, and then you slowly start increasing the distance. That's been my journey over the last half decade. Is like I started 2 nights out in trail, then I did my local through hike for 3 weeks, and then I had to go to New Zealand because I needed to find something longer, and I hiked for 4 months, and then I went to the US and I hiked for 6 months. I'm just like, I need more harder things. And now I'm at the point where no trail to me is scary or much of a challenge. And so I'm starting to do trails really fast and like chase after these FKTs and world records. And it's just like I keep
That's
chasing the
insane.
harder version of the thing that I've become more comfortable doing. Did you find that over the last sort of half decade
That's
after you've
literally
become really
insane.
comfortable with travel? Do you find that though as well? Like you're searching out countries that are going to be putting you in situations that are going to be uncomfortable or that are going to challenge you, or doing like crazier activities. I mean, you do some crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Anyone who's followed Jorden for a while, you've seen some things. But do you sort of seek those new challenges out more and more now that as you become more comfortable?
definitely. I mean, yes, I am ashamed to say that the continent that I've traveled the least is Africa, because I feel like that's where, the freshest perspectives will be for me. And every time I do go to that, I mean, I've still been to Africa multiple times, but yeah, there's countries there that I would love to get to just because, another trip to Italy, although that seems although that is great and I'll take that every day of the week, I still love Italy and there's some amazing things to explore. It doesn't come with that initial sort of like interest to me. Like if I end up in Italy, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. But I'm never really excited to jump on a plane to, let's say, to go to most places in Europe, or yeah, it's just like become a very
Mm-hmm.
standard thing. Where if I was in a week, I'm actually going to Djibouti, which is and Ethiopia, which is two countries in East Africa, and I'm super stoked on that because I'm just like, this is just super random. I really don't know what to expect, and I'm just gonna have a great time no matter what. So, I mean, the world always offers. There's always something challenging if you want to
Mm-hmm.
find it, and the beauty of travel and the world is that it's like literally the entire world, right? So there's always something you can do, but I do find myself, unless I am planning it or seeking it, I'll just stumble into countries that I now consider just very plain, which is only to my experience because I've obviously been to that country probably 20 times. It's definitely not like reflecting that for everyone. Someone that goes to Italy for the first time, they can have the exact same experience as me if I ended up in Chad. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, from that feeling. So yeah,
Yeah, it's interesting. It's all about perspective because I get comments like that all the time. With hiking, people are very nervous to head out on their first overnight hike, and people are obviously, in your world, that you getting messages from people that are like really nervous to travel outside of Australia or any home country for the first time as well. And it's like, well, we've been doing this for so long, it's almost hard to relate to that, but I think once you've visited every country in the world, we're gonna have to get you through hiking because that's going to be the next challenge for you, hiking for months at a time across a country or something.
totally. I feel like I'm gonna do that before visiting every country in the world. I don't know. I don't really have that much of a desire to see, like, I don't know. If I do end up in every country in the world, then that's great. But I don't think I've ever really seeked it out. I've just seeked out adventure, and I think the 1 month hiking banger through a random country is the better adventure than just ticking off all the country lists. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that will be me eventually. So
Yeah, you've posted on your stories a fair few times about how, just ticking off countries for the sake of ticking them off is not really your style. And you do see that a fair bit on social media. And it almost seems pretty performative. If you just pop it into an airport and out, it's not really the same as experiencing a country, which is why I love walking across a country, because you really experience it. And I haven't been to that many countries, but I've walked across a handful, and I wouldn't trade those experiences for the world. In saying that, you have been to 100 odd different countries, right?
Mm. 98, yeah. I'm gonna come up in 100 once I get to Ethiopia in like 2 weeks. That'll be the 100th country. So it is still cool to like. It's such a cool novelty to be able to say that sort of stuff, and I agree. But I've been doing this as my 12th year, so if you divide 100 by 12, it averages out to like 8.5 or whatever countries a year, which is very doable if that is your full time job. So
Yeah.
initially, it does look like a lot of countries, and probably looks like I've just been seeking that out. But yeah, I've done probably from that 100 countries, I've probably done 30 of them multiple times. But yeah, I don't know. Everyone, each to their own when it comes to it. I completely understand why someone would try and visit them all from a business social media marketing perspective, because it's such a good journey for people to follow, just like you doing a 1 month long hiking trip across from top and bottom of New Zealand or whatever it is. So I completely understand it from a business perspective, but I do not understand it from an experience perspective. And I'd like to think that most of the things I'm doing are coming from a place of curiosity of my own personal experience first. So
Yeah, I did download one of those country tracking apps this year because it just looked cool. And I think I'll tick over 20, so I'm pretty stoked about that. But what is there, like 200 different countries? Like that's a lot of different places.
yeah, I mean, depending on your political disposition, yeah, it could be what it could be anything these days. So
Right. Yeah, I guess some of them aren't officially recognized by all other nations.
yeah,
Oh, what a world
exactly.
we live in. What a world.
It's a wild one.
So obviously that first year or two, you had 10,000 Australian dollars saved up. You had a bit of a runway, and I'm assuming you were being pretty frugal and just trying to make it sort of last that initial 6 to 8 months, and then however much longer after that, once you got hooked. Where did social media and content creation come into it? Was that something that you were into or interested in, or was it just like it just kind of happened, and maybe you thought this could be a career path, this could be a way to sustain myself? What was the thought process?
Yeah, well, I always loved social media. I mean, anyone that sort of knew me through school or especially university when Instagram and that sort of stuff started popping up a bit more, I just love social media. So that was always an interest to me. And I love photography and videography. Well, not really video, but I love photo due to graphic design and Photoshop. And I had that sort of like toolkit from the get go. So yeah, I definitely was already documenting my travels in a very non thoughtful way, just sort of like photos and posts just for my family and friends. But then on the second year, I met my friend Jackson in Hawaii. You might know him, Jackson Groves. He's done a lot of hiking. Yeah, so I met him in Hawaii through a random DM because if you didn't know, I didn't have that much money. So I spent a lot of that money on that first year and I was trying to do it on the second year. But one of the ways I used to travel for free was I used to just DM as many people as possible in those cities or countries or locations that I'm going to. And I saw that Jackson was doing some hiking in Oahu. So I just DM'd him, hey, like, I see you've done this trail. Like, I'm trying to do this trail. Like, if you're ever going to do it again, like, I'm here for these dates and I'm just solo, would love to just join. And by luck, he had this big sort of thing. Like he only had a little scooter on the island, but for this 1 week that I was there was the same week that his girlfriend at the time and her sister were coming to the island. So something like that. So he had to like rent a car. So there was one seat in this car. And yeah, it's like, oh, actually, yeah, you can actually just join this car. It's this only time in my life that you'll ever be able to do this because I never have a car. I was like, that's amazing. So I joined that. We got off really well. And then he was starting a blog and Instagram. And he sort of was like, you're already traveling, you're already taking photos. Hey, like if you just add a little bit more of thought, that's where I started learning about algorithm and that sort of thing. He just said, hey, if you just like bundle it in this way, you can probably start a little social media following and whatnot. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's really what got me thinking about it on that second year. And then, yeah, from there, he just taught me a little tips and tricks, and I just went on my way, and the rest is really history. It took way too long, but initially, I just wanted to do social media because I knew that I could get free stuff. There was zero interest or understanding about the business. I knew it could be a full-time thing, but my goal, which is actually very limited, if you're talking to me from a business perspective, I realized more recently that this is a very limiting mindset, which I don't mind, because it wasn't my goal. But my goal was travel. I want to travel. That's what I want to do forever. So I remember in 2016 being like, I need to figure out a way to travel forever. That's just my dream. I love that so much. And then, yeah, for the next 4 years, I figured out ways to essentially travel forever because I was getting some free offers to this, free offers to that. And I honestly didn't, I probably should have been making money for those first few years because I was doing a lot of like marketing for these random travel companies or tourism boards or whatever it was. But my mind was just never there. So I was just stoked on the free stuff and stoked that I can do my dream, which was to travel. So from a business perspective, it was a bit limiting. But from Jordan's fulfillment of life, it was just like I was loving my life. So yeah, I didn't really mind.
That's why you're successful though. It's because you didn't come into it saying, "Oh, I want to make millions of dollars and buy a house and a car." Like you were doing it because you wanted to keep traveling, and that's what sort of set your soul on fire, and that was the motivation behind it. And so you were authentic, and it worked out really well. I mean, I imagine a decade ago there wasn't much of an influencer culture. I really didn't get on social media until maybe six years ago, 7 years ago, and even then it was sort of just kicking off. And so taking it seriously and like being intentional about the content and putting some thought into it, it would have stood out, right? It would have stood out amongst what was out there.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because in when I started social media, everyone told me, "Oh, it's the market saturated. You're way too late." And that was
Yeah, right.
2016. So it's just like, but I was just like, whatever. I mean, I'll just do it anyway. So it's funny how that mindset can carry through because I get people this year still messaging me, "Oh, I want to start social media, but everyone's saying it's too oversaturated and the travel this and the travel that." And I'm like, it's same old story. It's always going to be oversaturated if you look at it from that perspective. So yeah, at the time there was still like a lot of people posting it was very like the photo world of travel, this dreamy, picture perfect location travel, which I obviously like fell into as well. It's not like I saw it and decided to be completely different. I was still making these aesthetically looking photos. But yeah, it wasn't really a conversation around business, I think. Now we look at social media and we business and it's really respected. It goes hand in hand. Oh, you do that full time. Oh, that's amazing. And a lot of the oldies will now understand, like, yeah, that's a full time job. Where back in 2016, 17, it was like, oh, so you're just fluffing your life away, you know, for the like, you're just wasting your time. Why don't you build a future? So I think that's the conversation that's changed a little because now people respect that as social media more as a career path and understand that it can have impact rather than just sort of like this fluffy sort of like I'm just having a good time vibes.
Yeah. What were your family and friends' thoughts of Jordan becoming an influencer and traveling full time? Because I don't know if people realize when we're talking about full time travel with Jordan, like you don't spend much time at home ever, right? Like maybe a month a year, for the last 12. So
I
you're
know,
not seeing
so
family
bad.
super often. I'm sure they miss you dearly. And initially they were probably like, he's going to just make videos and travel forever. It's like, what's what is this going to work?
Yeah, I mean it is sad that I've actually spent such little time in Australia because I love Australia like so much. But I also just think of that mindset of like I'm gonna be here the rest of my life, so I'm gonna do a lot of travel. But yeah, like initially, actually, my parents are the best, so they always told me they always knew that whatever I did, I would be successful at it. So they never really had any doubts or worries in that regard. I think mum and dad worried for my safety at times because
Mm,
I was doing some pretty rogue things, you could say. So when they would see that, they would be like, "Oh my word, I hope Jordan's fine." But from a trajectory of life or living life perspective, I think mum and dad always knew like whatever I would do, I'd be successful at it, which was cool. And I had that was nice to have that support. But from a friends, university, that like slightly outer circle, yeah, there was definitely people that just thought it was cringe or, you're always going to get that, especially in Australia, the tall poppy syndrome of like if you're doing something different to the majority, people are generally going to try and like, well, talk about you at the least, pull you down. Like I would hear comments and stuff, but it didn't really bother me because they didn't understand. Like if they had my mindset, then they would be doing the same thing. So they just don't have my mindset. So it makes sense they don't understand what I'm trying to do.
hmm. And you weren't even in the country most of the time anyway, so you probably didn't even
Yeah,
hear half of the what they were saying behind your back. You're just like,
exactly.
"Yep, you keep talking. I'm out here in Italy or bloody Djibouti or wherever you were." Uh,
Exactly.
that's that's hilarious. And I mean, geez, it's worked out, hasn't it? You've been literally full time traveling for a decade, and any naysayers back a decade ago are probably quite jealous of the lifestyle that you live now.
Yeah, no, I'm very fortunate. Like, I look back and I'm just like, you start to feel old when you start reflecting like this. But yeah, I look back and I'm like, dang, wow, I just literally did whatever I wanted around the earth for 10 years. Like, everything sort of aligned
Hmm.
from my passion to the fact that I had, the passport privilege to the random jobs that would come through and random people I would meet that would snowball into this. Like everything just aligned for me to sort of do whatever I want in my 20s, which is so wild to say because it's usually the decade where you are doubting yourself, you have a lot of insecurities about what you want to do, you have less money, so you feel limited by that. You know, things just happen in life. So the fact that I got to just run my 20s the way I wanted it, yeah, very grateful.
So you've done this for a decade. What's the next decade look? Are you wanting to just keep sending it?
Well,
I
that's the
feel like I've
thing. I
seen like little hints on your socials of like maybe I'm gonna settle down a little
yeah,
bit. I
that's the
don't know
thing.
what the
That
plan
is the
is.
thing. Yeah, no. Basically, I reflected recently and I was like, I could do it forever, which was kind of scary to like I reflected and I thought I could do this forever, which was amazing, but then I also thought this is a little scary because the human development, human growth, that side of me has been it's been less and less and less as new experiences become more rare. The growth and the challenge and the development go down. So, as someone that's 32 years old and never paid for rent, never learned how to cook, never slept in the same bed for more than 2 weeks at a time, you never had a community outside of seeing some people once twice a year if I'm lucky. So these are the elements of life that I haven't been able to experience that will challenge me. These are going to be new experiences and I recognize that. So I do have to try and make a shift in how I'm living. Obviously, I'm going to be traveling literally forever. It's my job. I love it. And I will still do a, tons of time overseas. But I now am going to look for a potential base to sort of get a bit more of a routine life happening. So then other aspects of my life can be developed. Like literally, I cannot die single. And I need to find a community. I need to find community so I can find someone that like if I vibe with them instead of me being like, oh, you're actually really cool. see you maybe never, I can actually go, oh, you know what? Like I'm on a
Yeah.
trip for the next 2 weeks, but I'm coming back because I live here now and I can see you in 2 weeks, you know. So I've really, if you think about that, I'm on a very zero development. Like when it comes to a lot of other aspects of life, obviously the bucket list, adventures, and sort of like that bucket is full and will always be
Hmm.
full because it's my priority. But I need to start prioritizing other things to, get to know more about me. So it's weird to say that the life has to become more mundane for me to grow, but that's just somewhat
It's
what has to happen.
it's a very very unique perspective, isn't it? I'm very
Yeah,
much looking
it's
forward to the Jordan Tually learns how to cook series and learns how to make his bed series and gets a girlfriend series.
yeah,
It's gonna be
exactly.
super interesting.
The way I see it is like it's the most unrelatable life on ever. So it's weird because when you're posting content on the internet, you're usually posting it from a perspective of people will relate to this and this is what's going to sort of like resonate and drive a community, the algorithm because people will engage. But yeah, but my life's kind of flipped upside down with that. It's like me understanding people have to pay for electricity and water every like quarter. That's something I have never experienced. So when it comes, I'm gonna be like, what? And then everyone's gonna be like, yeah, this is just normal life. What are you talking about? But I'm gonna
Yeah.
be like, guys, I have no idea about this. So yeah, it is a weird thing. Obviously, I'm trying to figure it all out right now. So I don't really have too many answers there, but I know I have to pull myself back from kind of doing what I love because although it's fulfilling in so many ways, it's hindering so many other developments.
This episode of the Life Outside podcast is proudly brought to you by OptiVenture, the world's first all-in-one supplement specifically designed for outdoor adventurers. It's been my favorite health, performance, and recovery tool for the last couple of years, both in training and while on trail. It's super simple. Just take 3 sunrise capsules each morning for sustained energy and to help optimize gut health, immunity, and mental clarity. And then take 3 sunset capsules at night to help sleep more deeply, recover more efficiently, and keep inflammation low. I've used it on long trails like the Pacific Crest, as well as on my Bibbleman track, fastest known time completion. And I also just use it in my daily life as it replaces more than 10 individual supplements. It's simple, comprehensive, and built for my adventurous lifestyle. If you want the easiest, most effective way to stay healthy, perform well, and recover faster both on and off the trail, I can't recommend it enough. Head to optiventure.co and use Life Outside for 10% off your order. All right, let's get back into today's episode. As you said, Australia is a great country. I think it's the best country in the world, but it's pretty hard to travel from regularly. Is Australia the home base? Is
Not
obviously
yet.
you want to be,
I don't think
yeah,
so.
you don't think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you
Well,
can't get anywhere.
yeah, it's so hard. Like when I just did a job with the Switzerland Tourism Board, and I usually wouldn't do anything in January, but I was like, you know what? That's freaking sick. I want to go skiing in Switzerland because I live in Newcastle. So I was like, okay, we'll see how it is. And I literally hauled my booty to Switzerland and back within like 8 days. And it was 24 hours on a plane either way. And I was like, oh my word. I don't know if I don't know if I could do that like constantly because that would just wreck me. So yeah, definitely not Australia. I still see Australia like as my forever home, and that's where I want to be long term. But from like the next, let's say like 18 months, I want to probably base somewhere overseas where it just has like better connections to the world because I still essentially want to travel. If I base in Australia, I would be almost shocked, like creatively stunned in regards to like, oh my word, now I'm just in like Sydney and I have to just how do I create travel content from Sydney? I can go to
Mm,
New Zealand and go to New Zealand and film for a week and then come back and edit it and make that like the month's content will be New Zealand and that's fine. But I need more places, so overseas is still looking like a better option for that. And but yeah, but I always think I'm going to end up in Australia. I just love it too much. I can't not be here forever.
It's the best country in the world. So blessed to be born here and to grow up here. But as I'm sort of getting more interested in traveling and venturing out, it's becoming a very tiresome sort of journey with all the long flights and expensive with all the long
Yeah,
flights and just going back and forth.
crazy.
It doesn't make any sense. But I don't think I could ever leave Perth. It is my favorite. I mean, we're even more isolated over here. Like to get to New Zealand, it's like a bloody full day's travel as well because you got to lay over in the East Coast.
I've never been to Perth.
I do know that, yeah, which is
I've never been to Western
shocking.
Australia. How
Shocking.
insane is that? I know there's only a few things that are really shocking. One, never been to Western Australia, which is bizarre. And I've never been to Hong Kong or like Beijing or Shanghai. Like they're like the only sort of major hub cities that I haven't been to. But it's insane that I haven't been to Western Australia. I've done every other state, so it's
There's a lot here. It's just all very spread out. So, when you do eventually come, you've got a tour guide. And that's crazy because I have been to Hong Kong. So I've been somewhere you haven't. That's actually,
yeah,
I'm stoked on that. And
that's
Hong Kong's
it's so good.
amazing. It's really
I
beautiful.
know people say it's awesome. I don't know why. Just yeah, one day. There's too many things. You realize you just can't travel like it's impossible to see the whole world. It's just literally impossible in
What's
a
your
depth anyway.
What's your favorite country that you've been to? It might be hard to answer that question. I know you've been to some, like you said, 30 times and some just the one. Do you have a favorite?
I have a favorite, but I always put people ask me this question. It's like literally the number one question that you'll ever get asked as a travel creator. So
Yeah.
um, I have like categories. So when it comes to sort of the way I like to live life, tropical, water, diving, sand, mangoes, fruits, that sort of world. I love the Philippines mainly because they have a billion tropical islands that are all incredible. And then the people are very, I don't know, I just get along with them really well. They're really like funny, laid back, and they love karaoke. So it's a match made in heaven with me. But yeah, that's my usually go-to answer. It's also because I have a lot of nostalgia around that. When I first sort of started, I went to the Philippines for a month, and that sort of helped blow up my career in social media because
Mm,
we did a lot of discovery there, and I just realized like, whoa, this country's amazing. So there's a nostalgia tied to it, and a whole bunch of things. I know people don't like the country because the food they say is not good. That's like the number one feedback I get from most travelers. How could you say the Philippines is your favorite country? The food is so bad, blah blah blah. Not my opinion, others' opinion, but yeah, I don't know. Food's just so low on my ranking of why I love stuff. So
yeah, you barely spent any money on food. You put a post up sharing your travel budget for last year. It looks like you basically just fast half the time.
yeah, well, it's actually a bad habit because the first 2 years of travel, I actually did fast. I did one meal a day every day for like a year because I had no money. So I realized I quickly, with my budget scarcity mindset, I was like, okay, well, transport, I don't have to fly. I can just take a bus. If it's cheaper, I'll do that or hitchhike. Accommodation, well, I don't have to pay for accommodation. I'm just going to meet a local because there's always a local that can offer you a bed. Like, I just got to make that connection. If I can't, I'll stay in a hostel. And then entertainment, I was like, oh well, that can be completely free because I'll just go hiking and swimming, and I just want to see the nature more than anything else. I don't care about going to the sky deck for $50. And then for food, I was like, okay, well, I can reduce that from 3 meals a day to like 1.5 meals a day and just eat oatmeal. So yeah, I
Jeez.
very much took like everything I needed to travel, and I like strategically made sure I spend as little as possible because I wanted to just travel as much as I could, which is a wild thing to looking back. Like now it's completely different. Like I understand food needs to be somewhat of a priority, which is also why I need to stop traveling as much because I need to figure out how to like live a healthier life. But that's the 30s talking. The 20s didn't. didn't care.
Didn't care. Yeah. You mentioned a couple of things there, but like if there's people listening saying like I want to travel, but I have no money, what would your advice be to travel frugally to a lot of places and actually really enjoy it?
Yeah, so when you have no money, you have to have something else. If you have no money, you have a lot of time. So the key is to exchange your time for, instead of money, which is what you would do in a normal 9 to 5, you're now exchanging your time for every other element of life that money would buy. So, if someone's going to put you up in a place and let you stay on the couch for a week, unfortunately, if you don't want to hang out with them, that's not an option. Like your time is now invested around their life, their world. You hang out with them, you spend time with them because they're giving you a couch. It's not just like go sleep on a couch and do whatever you want in the day. You have to have the mindset around the community of like, okay, well, now I'm just going to be hanging out with this person or hanging out with that person. And you sort of like jump through people's lives in that way. So that's what I did for a long time. I understanding, well, one, I love people, so it was a lot easier for me. I'm very extroverted in that way. But two, I just understood that the the key to unlocking better experiences and more travel was people. It's just like meeting people is the key to life. If you meet, I used to say like if I was best friends with all 8 billion people on earth, like genuinely best friends, then I would be doing whatever I want in this world for free, no matter when or where. Like that's just the reality. Obviously, it's a hypothetical. Like you can't actually be best friends with 8 billion people because to create a really deep friendship, it takes a lot of time and effort. But that was the mindset I had, was just if I can be their best friend in that moment, then the world will sort of be unlocked. So
Yeah. I instantly think of hitchhiking when you talk about that. Like, you have to invest in conversation during that ride to basically make
yeah,
hitchhiking sustainable. You can't just like jump in someone's car and then just not talk to them. It doesn't work like that. And
exactly.
I do a lot of hitchhiking on long trails, and we're always exhausted, so it's always a bit of like, okay, who's taking the front seat this time? Because you've got you've got to make the
You gotta
conversation and
actually, yeah,
make it worthwhile for the driver, make it interesting for them, because people are going out of their way. If you imagine it's the same with staying on someone's couch, you've got to spend time
yeah.
with them and be a part of their
Yeah,
life for
exactly.
that period of
It's
time.
just like a
Yeah.
self-aware. If you're self-aware, I think you can go far in the world, basically, just
Hmm.
understanding your situation in your environment. But if obviously that's a very extreme take in regards to if you want to travel a lot more. But if you just want to travel a lot more, there's so many opportunities overseas. Like I worked at a summer camp in Canada. That was like one of the best things I've ever done in my life. And that was 3 months a year. Yeah. I mean, you could do that you can do that 12 months a year if you want. The camp runs all seasons. So, there's hundreds of things you can do overseas, but you will just have to, you know, give your time to doing it. You're not going to be living the life of, oh, I'm gonna go travel and I'm gonna go straight to Santorini and I'm gonna stay in like a bougie 5-star hotel, and then after that I'm gonna go to the Cinque Terre and whatever, and then I'm gonna go to the Eiffel Tower and stay in a nice boutique hotel there, and then I'm gonna come home. Yeah, that's gonna be expensive. But if you want to do you can do that exact itinerary over months, meeting the right people, having the right conversations. It will just take time and an investment, but you can live that lifestyle of that luxury person that did it within 10 days. It just might take you 10 months to make those connections.
Yeah. It sucks being I'm super introverted, and so like stepping out and talking to new people and talking in groups, all that kind of stuff does not come naturally to me whatsoever. Even like long form conversation, like in the context of a podcast, it does not come naturally to me at all, which is literally why I started this, because I wanted to
Nice.
challenge myself. But the more I travel, the more I realize exactly what you're saying is like meeting people is like the cheat code to travel. Not only traveling cheaper, but enjoying travel more. And I'm
Of
lucky
course.
because when I do long distance trails, other people on those trails, they're experiencing the same thing alongside of you, and so it's very easy to bond with people. And through that, I have so many connections in all kinds of places all around the world, and basically open doors to go and stay with these people. And it's just like it makes everything so much more accessible. If only flights were like free or cheaper from where I live, like travel would be almost free most of the time. I
Mm.
mean, it is when I travel a lot for hiking, and I'm just living out of a tent the whole time. So when people tell me how much I spent on this trip, they're like, "Holy crap! Like, how is that even possible?" I'm like, "Well, 90% of that was just the flight, and then the rest was like a bit of
Hmm.
food or whatever." But if you can stay with people wherever you go as well, it's just like the experience is better. It's cheaper. It's like a win-win-win. But you do have to kind of
Exactly.
step out of your comfort zone, especially if you're not super extroverted.
No, yeah. I mean, I am an extrovert, but there's still times where I'm just like, wow, I'm not vibing here. The
Hmm.
person that I'm with or whatever will never know because they'll never know like that I'm actually not vibing them because I'm still giving them their the attention and engaging in that conversation. And I'm really good at just sort of being like learning from a new perspective of someone that I just do not like agree with whatever they're doing. I'm just really good at just taking that at face value and making the best of whatever situation I'm in. But yeah, it's an exhausting life. So I would say most travel creators I know do sort of like in and out of a bag for about 3 4 years, and then they realize like this is cooked. What the heck? Like humans are designed for community, routine, and sort of like stability in that sense. So they stop and they do periodic travel from wherever their base is. So it's definitely not a life for everyone long term. Very few, at least, but you have to sacrifice a lot of other things. But yeah, I mean, I still think you learn a lot on travel. So it's
Hmm.
great if you were just starting out. You're like, I should go overseas and do something.
It's the case with most things on social media. You don't see a lot of the hard parts to it as well. You don't see that conversation that you have to force yourself to have with the driver of your hitch, or when you're not vibing, you don't record any of that. You don't share it. Like that's just the mundane stuff that's not interesting to
Yeah,
share. But it's all a reality when you're traveling, and I'm sure there's so many things that go wrong and that suck, and it's just not public. I think you do a very good job of showing like the crappy parts and the stuff that doesn't go well, and I think it's a nice sort of overall picture of, okay, not everything is that perfect picture of that beach in the Philippines. Sometimes you eat a tarantula or whatever happened to you and your face blows up. That
yeah,
stuff that stuff happens. Um, but yeah,
yes.
is there?
Remind me. Thanks for reminding me of that
I think we're all
experience.
traumatized from it just watching it. For those who don't know, tell us the tarantula story, because that was pretty wild.
Okay, the quick story is I was in Mexico City in a market, and you know, I was thinking, oh yeah, I'll try these silly little bugs because there was like a stall with like cockroaches and scorpions, and I'm thinking,
To eat, right?
well, yeah, to eat, but I'm thinking, I've done this many times all over the world, Cambodia, whatever, like just random bugs. It's just like part of travel. So, and I'm thinking if it's being offered on a table, then it's fine to eat. It's not going to be harmful because it's just being it's like a tourist thing
People
to
eat it.
do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
people eat it. So then I was like, okay, what's the craziest thing you got? And there was a tarantula there. Little did I know that lady didn't. She had like 50 cockroaches, 50 scorpions, whatever, and three tarantulas. And it kind of did look like it was just like for display, like scattered around, like ooh tarantula. So I asked her, I was like, "Give me the tarantula," and she's like, "Okay." So I ended up eating this tarantula. She obviously didn't cook it properly because the ones you get in Southeast Asia are very like crisped up and like deep fried until they're just basically just crispiness. This one was like gooey and chewy, and it had all the hairs on it and everything. So it wasn't good, and I ended up not being able to speak for an entire month because 20 minutes after I ate it, my tongue blew up to the size of like my mouth, and it was just the worst thing I've probably ever done because I couldn't speak, and I was talking with a lisp like this for like 4 weeks later,
I
still back
remember.
there.
Yeah.
Like it was literally the worst. Yeah, that's the short story of it, but it was one of those things where it's like a classic travel story. And you know what's funny is I love it. I just think that's the reason I think that's the reason I've been able to do it for so long is because when everything goes to plan, I just feel like this because I at the end of the day I'm a storyteller. I'm trying to tell like fun stories on the internet. That's the goal. So when everything goes to plan, it's like, oh well, I didn't grow as much. I didn't get a chance to challenge myself as much. I didn't get to tell a really good story because everything's just perfect. So when bad, I kind of like look for it. I'm like, yeah, like I want bad stuff to happen in my life because that's where all of the good will come from a hindsight perspective. Now,
Hmm.
hold up, I don't want to. There are some obviously things that I don't want. Like I don't want this heavy level of trauma. But if it comes to inconveniences, um, from your baggage being lost or you being food poisoned or whatever, like these things, it's just like, yeah, I know it's gonna suck for a few days, but then I'm just like, I'm better off for it. So that's how the mindset I sort of take into all those things, which is kind of sadistic in a way, but yeah, I don't know.
It's interesting. I haven't really like thought about it in that way, but that's so much what I do as well on trail. Like, I don't seek out danger or potentially harmful situations, but I don't put enough effort into planning and precaution to avoid them completely, because those parts, when I look back on some of my favorite days on trail or favorite moments on adventures, they're always the crappy in the moment things, that didn't go to plan and it hurt or whatever it is. Like, there's this, I went through a blizzard in New Zealand and I look back on that. I'm like, that was incredible. That was the funnest day ever. But in the moment, I was like literally fearing for my life. It's that
Yeah,
type two fun thing, It's like you need a bit of type two fun in your life, I think, and
yeah,
it
you
can be
definitely do.
avoided. But if you are
The
just
problem with me, the problem with me
yeah,
is that I recognize pretty quickly that it's type 2 fun, which turns into this type 1 fun in the moment because I'm recognizing, oh, this is fun and this doesn't
that's
matter. And then the
hilarious.
people I'm with, the people that I'm around, that are obviously we're all going through the blizzard. It sucks. It's cold. Everything's a mess. We're exhausted. We're tired. So yeah, we're going through that blizzard, and then because I've been through this many times, I've sort of like accelerated where the type 2 will come into play, and I'm just like, this is the best. Whoa, this is so sick, and everyone's like, Jordan, shut up. You are being the worst person right now. We are stressed out and I'm just sitting there going like, "Woo!" But then I realized like, okay, yeah, Jordan, like you bring the type 2 in 3 days from now. Then then everyone will be on the same page. But yeah,
That is so funny, and I've never thought about that either. But it's so true in my life as well. Like, I'm just thinking about I think it was December or November last year, a couple months ago. I was in Tasmania hiking with my friend Susie, and we really mistimed this trail. It's one of the most technical trails in Australia, and we ended up having to walk, along this sketchy ridgeline until about midnight till we eventually got to camp, and it was
crazy.
hectic. And I'm a lot more experienced of a hiker than Susie was, and I literally felt that in that moment, and I didn't think about it till right now, where I was like, this is a type 2 fun situation, but it's turning into type 1 fun because I know it will be type 2 fun,
Yeah,
like,
exactly. But that
and for
only comes
Susie,
because you
because of
yeah, that only
experience and that kind of
exactly.
stuff.
Only because
Yeah.
you're so experienced in this sort of
Yeah.
situation that now it accelerates into
Yeah.
real life where
I
I
love
can
that.
totally understand someone that like, they haven't traveled, haven't been on this sort of like
Yeah.
world before. I can totally understand that they are not enjoying their life. And I was there too when I was being dropped in random. I put myself in random countries at the initial 4 or 5 years of travel, and I was like out of my depth. So I can
Hmm.
totally understand it. But now, when you become sort of a professional in whatever environment, then yeah, it's caused more fights than I would want because I just start going like, oh, that doesn't matter, and then people like,
Yeah.
Jordan, this is very serious. You've got to like just like you got to be serious now. And I'm just like sitting there going, whatever, I don't care,
Yeah.
which is obviously not good. Like it's quite dismissive to people's emotions and feelings in the time, but
Hmm.
at the same time, I'm just like, I just know it's gonna be fine. So such a weird thing that I experience, but I low key love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna remember that because yeah, I've just never thought about it like that before. Like Susie was like kind of panicking and scared, and we're exhausted that night, but I was just loving it. Yeah, that's
It's
amazing.
like it's like a
I've rocked that.
type it's like a type 3 fun.
Type
When
three
you've
fun.
gone yeah, when you've gone through 2, you're in 2 and then you decide to do it in real life, which is type 1. Boom, you got 3. Type 3 fun.
Hmm.
When you
That's an
realize
evolution.
that yeah, when you realize the dangerous situation is, well, the really hectic situation is gonna be fine, but you realize also you're still in it.
Hmm.
So you're just like partying in the midst of chaos. That's
And it does
hilarious.
it does make it more. It is more obvious and clear when you're with people who aren't in that same sort of boat where it's
Yeah.
really type two fun as well. Which is
I
unfortunate,
get a
but
lot of I get a lot of people because I run group trips, so twice a year just to a random country, and I get a lot of people. We just went to Iraq last like 2 months ago, and even for that trip, obviously I'm running a group trip there, so I think it's completely safe. I've completely secure in the fact that I can bring strangers to this place and give them a great experience. I would never want to put obviously strangers in danger. So I'm on this level of like experience and understanding, which obviously people are paying because they are putting that faith in me. But it doesn't stop the questions of people just being like worrying about every single thing because they haven't really left the country or haven't done that much travel. So and it's hard for me not to laugh. And I'm just like, it's fine, like trying to reassure them. But part of me is just sort of like, oh my word, like, of course, I'm not bringing 10 people into a really dangerous, war torn situation where you're going to be captured. But that's how
yeah,
everyone's mind goes to straight away. So yeah, I got to try and be more sensitive to that. That's something I definitely have to work on. But it's hard not to just, for me, to be like, just chill, which is not what people want to hear when they're stressing out.
yeah, for sure. Uh, yeah, that's hilarious. Uh, am I right in thinking that you're a Christian, right?
Yes,
You are. What's
Jesus boy.
Jesus boy? Me too, man. Me too. And
Nice.
I love seeing when you post stuff like about that. It's incredible. I'm interested to hear about your journey though, traveling to so many different countries where different religions are very prevalent, and there's different cultures and all kinds of views towards different religions as well. What's your experience been like as a Christian over the last decade? Did you grow up?
Yeah,
Did you
I
grow up in the
mean,
church, or like
yeah.
what's your
So
journey
I
been?
I grew up I grew up Seventh Day Adventist, which is a very small
Right.
denomination. I'm not sure if you'd even know about it. I think there's like 20
Yeah.
million people worldwide. So
I've
small
mates who
denomination.
are, yeah.
Oh, nice. And I think it's very different around the world because in Australia, it's like for the church I grew up in, super chill, almost like a surfy vibe church, very relaxed. But then I would say I grew up Seventh Day Adventist in America, and people would be like, "Oh, you're from a cult," and I'm like, I don't know what goes on in America, but my upbringing was I had a great upbringing. Yeah, so obviously 10 years of travel can change someone's faith a lot, and I've seen it change a lot of people's faiths. Usually the path that people go down as they travel more is their mind sort of goes into this, obviously you're going to get a more open perspective and understanding, but most people detach from, I guess, a traditional god figure, more of a universalist, worldly, sort of like, you know everything happens for a reason, karma, world, maybe Buddhist centric view, just because it feels like that's the path to least resistance from all these questions that are pretty much impossible to answer.
Hmm.
So, but for me, yeah, definitely I wouldn't call myself Seventh Day Adventist anymore because I don't really. I think that's where my journey has come. Is like it's opened my mind up to, oh, God is so much bigger than this small denomination box that we're putting him in. So I have definitely still got a very wide perspective, but I've always stayed true to that Christian ideology of Jesus and God and that figurehead with the Holy Spirit. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing once you start experiencing people that will probably like impossible for them to even understand that terminology or that language overseas. You know, you go to countries where like Jesus is the last thing on their mind, and that makes complete sense that that would be the last thing on their mind. So I don't sort of have any hold any resentment there, but at the same time I see, without using too many like religious terms, because I know it's hard to like talk about this without getting like sort of like cliche with like words that people don't even understand that didn't grow up in this world. But I see like God working through the most, what people would consider the most non-Christian people in the world. So whether people recognize it or not, I'm seeing spiritual acts and kindness and love and outpouring and support happen all the time, whether people think that, oh, well, there could be Hinduism, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever it is. Sometimes I think people are just they just label things differently for the same thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
But it's really grown my journey. I think that's why I've been able to do it for 10, 12 years, solo, to essentially, because I just never felt really alone. I always knew my faith in God. I've always been looked out for and protected in that way. And even when bad things were happening, I was just like, well, at least I can lean on God. And, when I'm feeling isolated, I know that I'm not really ever. So it is a weird mindset thing. And it's still something that I still struggle to talk about in a public forum, because I know everyone has such different understanding of the word Christian and faith in general. Like if I say Christian,
Hmm.
you're going to get 100 people in a room, and I say Christian, 50 people are going to have their trauma of this, and 50 people are going to have their best moment of their life, and it's just a mixed thing. So it's really hard to talk about actually when I try and like put it into words. But yeah, my faith has only grown stronger through isolation, which I for all the churchy people out there, or the ones that like really rely on Christian community, it's an amazing thing to rely on Christian community. And that's one thing why I do need to like slow it down and find that for myself. But I also love that you don't need that Christian community to sort of like drive your faith. And that's what I've been really sort of constantly affirmed on through my travels, is that, when push comes to shove, and it comes down to a moment of like, okay, Jorden, like, what do you want to do here? Do what you want to do, what you should do, are two different things. And it's not always easy, but God's always been there, sort of like guiding my path. So I feel really blessed in that way. But yeah, it's like I feel like I could talk about this forever. There's so many examples we could get into, but I also just don't understand if people will even like
Hmm.
cognitively know what I'm
Totally.
saying. So it's like it's such a weird thing. I don't know. For you, it's great. I feel like we would be able to talk forever about this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't talk super publicly about it that often as well, for the same reason, as it's hard to sort of, when you're in your church community, it's very easy to talk about these things because everyone kind of gets it, but not so much. And even with my podcast audience, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure people have found out that I'm a Christian for the first time today. Some of my listeners, but yeah, it's interesting. I find so much value in church community and having a home base, here in Perth, which is awesome. But then I also really relate to what you're saying, that when I'm solo and I'm traveling, and especially when I'm in the wilderness, away from people and away from civilization and things that are man-made, and I get to just immerse myself in creation, it's such a powerful way to connect. And yeah, I don't know, it's just interesting. I feel like in everyday life, when you're always connected and there's reception and there's notifications and there's people everywhere, it's very hard to sit with your own thoughts and therefore have conversation and relationship with God. And when I'm out in nature, it's just like that is the place where it happens for me, and I freaking froth it. And that's one of the big reasons that I get out, and specifically get out alone a lot as well. It's just yeah, it's super powerful. But no, I appreciate you sharing, dude. Like, it's super
No,
inspiring.
yeah, exactly. Like I used to just spend. This is why I love Australia because I could just go to the back of the break of the ocean and just sit there and just like be floating in the water and just having the best time. Like some of my favorite moments on earth is just me at my local beach out the back of the break, just floating in nature with God. So, I've probably done every single thing any human would ever want to do on this earth in regards to bucket lists, adventures, and I've lived like all of the hype. But yeah, my favorite thing is also just sitting, realizing that you're not alone and realizing that God like loves you and just feeling like super this intimate love impressed on your heart from purely being in this like beautiful world of nature. So
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. It's like it's one of the best things ever. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
like
I
really why I
think
can keep going.
yeah, I think a lot of people have experienced that and can relate to that, and maybe for them it's the universe, or it's Mother Nature, or it's,
Yeah.
whatever god they worship or have relationship with. But there is this sort of undeniable spirituality to being present in creation, and
Mm,
it's extremely
exactly.
powerful. Yeah.
No, exactly. That's why it's like when I'm meeting these people and they're explaining certain things, I'm like, oh, okay, so you're using what I would assume is like, when you're saying universe, I'm saying God. When you're saying
Hmm.
grounded, I'm saying like the spirit, that it's so funny how
Yeah.
we're way more, we're so much more alike than what people think because every religion starts just boxing and dividing because everything has to have make complete sense of like you're in this box, you're in this box, you're in this box, and these are your beliefs and we're not the same. But when you actually travel, meet people, connect to them, understand their mind, their heart, their intentions, you realize we are all sort of in that similar box of just trying to figure out life. And we've also had very similar spiritual experiences. The one thing I do not understand is when people say they've never had like a spiritual experience or they don't believe in a spiritual world. That's the only time on earth is like completely unrelated. I cannot relate at all. I don't understand. I'm so interested in understanding how you can not be understand that we're spiritual beings. That is one of the craziest things to me. Yeah, so I don't know. It's such a cool aspect of life.
Yeah, I think when you have experienced that sort of spiritual aspect of life and something outside of yourself, it's hard to imagine that not existing for people. But obviously, that's a lot of people out there.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's
it's
interesting
cool.
one. Like the co-founder of OptiVenture, which is the sort of outdoor nutrition company that I've started. My mate, good mate, her, he's very into sort of the universe and how the universe conspires to help you if you're in alignment. Which I love it. I love how he thinks, and it's funny chatting because it's just like we're talking about the same thing but just slightly different angles, and
Exactly. Yeah,
it's just like synonyms
I've
basically.
exactly. I've had that conversation so many times. The only thing that really I feel separates my faith from the majority is that I didn't do any of this and none of it like it's not from my own deeds and my own works and I didn't build the company or build the social media for because the universe blessed me with social media. Like it's a that's the only mindset difference that I find between myself and majority of the world is that they feel deserving. Like they feel like, oh, I deserve this because, I gave back to the universe. So then the universe give me this but it was sort of like my doing, my works, where I just feel like completely undeserving of really anything. Like, followers on the internet, random brand jobs, even the ability to have time freedom and financial freedom in regards to traveling the world. Like, I still to this day, yeah, of course, I dedicated 10 years of my life to building it, but I do not think I deserve it at all. I understand the way the world works, and a lot of things have to go into place to make stuff like this happen, and I'm very blessed that I can live this life. But I don't think there's like zero entitlement from a place of deserving. I feel like that's the thing that changes my mindset from most when it comes to that sort of like universal world. But it is, apart from very small little things like that, yeah, we're just talking about the same thing. And I'll just say this, I'll just say the spirit when they say the universe.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I super relate to what you're saying there. Dude, before we wrap up, I really want to chat to you about Australian rules football because I know you're a big fan, and
Yes, big fan.
I'm the biggest fan in the world, and I've left it to last because I know 99% of people
Really? Wow, wow,
just
wow, wow,
just
wow.
don't care. I grew up
That's fair.
as a teenager just loving the Hawks, big Sam Mitchell fan. I know you have some relationship to Sam Mitchell, right?
How do you know that?
You've posted on you've posted like random stories of being at home, and I see Sam Mitchell. I'm like,
Oh, okay.
that's Sam Mitchell. Like no one
Yeah,
else
yeah,
gets
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
That's I
That's
love the Hawks.
hilarious.
Hodge is my favorite player of
That's
all
great.
time. The 3-peat was just like
What a legend.
the best thing ever.
Highlight
I'm
of my
more of a
life.
Dockers man
Highlight of
now.
my life.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
more of a Dockers man now, just because like I've kind of grown up and realized I need to be loyal to my state, and
that's fair. That's
I
fair.
just I can't wait till we get a premiership next year, this year actually. But yeah, tell me about footy. Like
Coxie's going to bring it home for you. Coxie's going to bring it
he's
home
not
for you.
gonna play. So Sam Mitchell, is he
Oh,
like
no, he will.
what's your relationship with
He's my
with
mum's
Sam?
brother. My mum's brother. Yeah,
Okay, so
my
your
uncle.
uncle, right?
Yeah, there you go.
So you're
That's
born
so
into the
funny.
Hawks, basically. Is that how it was?
Well, I got into football when I was on the Sunshine. I lived on the Sunshine Coast for a few years as a kid. So we were Lions supporters until, yeah, 2001. So my early days, I remember being a Lions supporter. And then basically, as Sam got drafted, we just went obviously to the Hawks. And then from there, I just grew up being a loyal Hawks supporter. But honestly, like even outside of the family ties, it just runs so deep in me. It's so crazy. I just like love footy. I'll wake up at 2 a.m. anywhere in the world to watch that football
Yeah,
game live. Like,
yeah.
you know, it's so wild that I just love sport because it brings people together. And it's just something you can all, no matter who you are, you can just relate to on a level of like this fun, exciting moment in life. So I don't know, football is so awesome. That's honestly another reason why I couldn't leave Australia. Like I just love footy so much.
It's so funny because no matter where you are in the world, what you're doing, what I've seen in your story the last day, you'll always be commenting on like the AFL's posts, like after a match or something. It's like
Oh, I know.
always
I need
Jordan
to find
Tually.
my community. I'm always need to find my community through something. So yeah, like when it comes to football, like no one else in the world of travel
Yeah,
cares or understands or even relates at all. So I heavily rely on social media for that community. And, I'll talk to like the most random people in the DMs because I'll comment on like whatever AFL page and that would just spark some conversation in the DMs. And I'm just going back and forth with people that I know that are the Hawk supporters that I've never met, that I don't even know who they are. But yeah, I don't know, I just love it. Like, I don't know, just another aspect of this beautiful life we get to live is football and
how good is footy?
sport in
I've
general. I mean, the
sport in
Australian
general.
Open's
Yeah,
on right now, and I'm just like
love it.
frothing the Aussie Open. So, but yeah,
I was at the Big
that's so
Bash last
funny.
night as well.
Oh,
My
nice.
Scorchers just made the final. Yeah, a frost sport, and I'm the
They're
same
crushing.
when I'm traveling. I remember on the Pacific Crest Trail that I walked in 2024 for 6 months in the US. There were so many nights where I'd like purposefully try and climb top of a hill to camp, so I'd have reception, so I could stay up to 2 a.m. to watch a game. And like I showed so many people Aussie rules football while I was over there. Like we'd stay at a Trail Angel house, we'd hitchhike out and be like, "Oh, can I just use your TV tonight and just hook up my phone?" And like we'd watch games.
So good.
Froth it.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely the same. Like walking around. I remember walking around in Mongolia, like in the middle of nowhere, like a whole day from civilization, trying to find that one bar of internet, like on the top of a hill, and being like, "Oh, I got streaming up here. This is sick." And I'm just like kinked neck, phone holding in a very particular situation, that I can't move because the internet will die, and I'm just like watching this at like
Yeah.
midnight in the middle of a random field. So
Yeah,
that's great.
if you know, you know. If you know, you know. My one
That's
wish
great.
is that AFL would one day become like a global sport and it
Ah,
would just
my
be out there,
dream.
but I don't think that'll ever happen,
That's literally my
unfortunately.
dream. I know
Yeah,
no one has the big enough ovals. It can only happen in cricket based countries.
yeah,
So India and Pakistan and England can probably get around it pretty good, but the rest of the world, no idea.
yeah.
That's so funny. Mate, we're like best friends that have never met.
Dude, we could definitely talk about Aussie rules for about 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I froth it. Hey, like fantasy football every year. I just I watch
So
four
good.
matches a week, and when I'm home, it's my wife hates it, but I freaking froth it. But we'll end it there because no one wants to listen to talk about footy. We're not a footy podcast. You can go somewhere else for that. Dude,
That's
really appreciate
like,
really appreciate your time. Where can people follow you if they're interested in seeing what you're up to?
you can follow me at Jorden Tually anywhere on the internet, but it's actually Jordan with an E. My mum blessed me with that, so Jorden, and then the rest should pop up. But
Hell yeah.
yeah,
Links will be in the description below. But yeah, cheers, dude. We'll hopefully cross paths in person at some point.
please, please, we need to go hiking. I need to do a hiking
Hell
trip.
yeah.
Push me, push my limits.
What's the longest hike you've ever done?
Maybe like Annapurna or something, like 5, 6 days.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
they're
we'll
still very comfortable, tea houses and whatnot.
mm, we'll get you into the proper world at some point. That'd be good.
Exactly. That would be great.
Oh yeah, dude.
My new
Appreciate
arc.
it.
Easy.
Yeah, hiking era. Thanks so much for listening to the Life Outside podcast today, guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to follow wherever you are listening. Leave us a 5-star rating. It is much appreciated. And we'll catch you next week. Cheers.